Join us, it's the Empower Talk, Empower Show. Empower Talk, Empower Show. Empower Talk Show.
Greetings and welcome to EmpowerTalk on iKenRock TV on 360wise.com. Listen, you are in for a treat. My name is PJ Edmond. I'm blessed and honored to serve as the pastor and bishop of Timbrook Church International, also the host of EmpowerTalk, a show that's going to be relevant, that's going to be radical, that's going to be resourceful. We're going to bring you the world's, the kingdom's best in terms of individuals that will have a message of empowerment to share about life, about success, about business. This is a show that you don't want to miss. Listen, follow us on Apple TV, Roku, watch us on Amazon Fire, on Android TV. Check us out on all of those platforms. If you want to follow me personally, do that on all social media platforms, on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Follow, just search PJ Edmond Sr. Listen, coming out of Camden, New Jersey, one of the kingdom's most prolific songwriters, producers, musicians, and just an all-around tremendous force in the kingdom. This is my first guest. Can I introduce to you? Get ready. Let's jump into this conversation with the Honorable Gary Diggs.
Come on, join us, it's the Empower Talk, Empower Show. Empower Talk, Empower Show. Empower Talk Show.
Welcome, Gary. We're so grateful to have you on Empower Talk today. How things going, bro?
Bishop Evan, I'm so glad to see you, my friend. How are
You,
you, sir?
I'm doing great. You look amazing. Every time we get together, I know something's going to happen, and I feel it. I feel it in the air, and I believe that even what we're getting ready to share,
Yeah.
it's going to be amazing. Listen, there's so much to talk about. There's so much to share about. The little that I do know is that, first of all, I know you're a man of God and you're
Yes, sir.
influential. You have great vision. You've worked with the nation's best, the kingdom's best. I know you've served as a musician, a music producer, just a music composer. And I just love the fact that you have worked with the best. I mean, who can we talk about? Bishop David G. Evans. You've done work with
Yes.
former President Bill Clinton. You've done work with Allen Iverson. You've done work with the late Edwin Hawkins. I mean, God has blessed you
Yeah.
to connect with a group of individuals that they are movers and shakers in the kingdom. Gary, let's start here. What has shaped you? What would be the thing that you would share with us in terms of the work that you've done so far? What have been those moments that have shaped you to be able to do what you're doing right now?
Well, I have to first credit my family, an amazing childhood, two
Mm,
amazing parents, my father and mother, who are both deceased, Bishop and Bishop and Mother Dorothy Diggs. They both were amazing people. They pastored church in the city of Camden, New Jersey, where I was cutting my teeth.
right.
And I was born in the church started in '68. I was born in '69. Emmanuel United Pentecostal Church. Shout out to Camden.
Of
And
course.
I'm actually named after the church. That's my middle name. A lot of people don't know that, Emmanuel. My parents named me after the church. I was born a few months after they
Wow.
birthed it.
Wow. What an honor. Yeah.
And so they didn't want to make that my first name. It felt like it would have been I guess, too much going on. I'm thankful they didn't do that either.
Right. Can you imagine going through school with Emmanuel?
Yeah, and then going to church. Where you going to, Emmanuel? Emmanuel, there's been too many
Right. Right.
E's going on. But with that early on, and being in a musical family where my
Hmm.
parents both play, my brothers play, my older brothers. I'm the youngest of five. So playing and doing music was just what we did.
Hmm.
We had curfew. You had to be on the porch before the lights come on, and then we were in church 4 or 5 days a week. So church is what we did. It wasn't even an option of what you're doing this weekend. What's on your schedule? Church. We're going to like church. You know what I mean? So it was school, church, home. So and from there, I got to the point in the age where I said, once I get older and grown, I would never go to church again.
Right.
Because I tired of church. But then once high school and start playing for community choir, Tri-State, part of Edwin Hawkins seminar, and then start at that point traveling. I had a song that I wrote called "Going Back" that was on Billboard, and it just went from there. And from all that road traveling, met a friend actually named Bishop David Evans. through playing at a service, not knowing a few years later he would end up being my boss and hiring me. So let me put a plug there. Be careful how you entertain angels, because you never know
How
who will
about
end up taking care of you. So it's been a 21 plus year relationship with Bishop Evans and Bethany Baptist Church. I've been with them for that long. And it's just been a great experience. Yeah, I've had some disappointments, of course.
that? Of
Been
course.
mistreated, of course, been mishandled. But it's okay. It's all
Yes.
good, because greater is he
Yeah.
that's in me than he that's in the world. And I tell anybody, if you just walk and trust God, it's no good thing he'll withhold from you. So yeah, it's been some disappointments and some things, but yeah, my start was from 438 Street, 438 Stephen Street, Camden, New Jersey, and
Wow.
here, 20 some, 40 some years later, I'm still in music ministry. So it's been a blessing, and I'm grateful, for all the people, artists, and you mentioned Allen Iverson. Here I go again, an angel unaware, not knowing that his fiance at the time was attending my father's church.
Wow.
It wasn't a
Wow.
big church, a church that
Sure.
seats a couple hundred people. Here, this guy's fiance was attending the church along with her girlfriend, who was a member of the church. I had no idea who she was, just that she was another young lady coming to the service. I said, I want that one to come play at my wedding. And that's how I was able to connect with Allen Iverson. So that's another plug for a lot of young musicians. Think you got to get to the big church, got to get to the big house.
Right. Right.
It doesn't happen that way. You don't need everybody. You just need the right body.
And God can make it happen anywhere, right?
Anywhere.
It's a God thing. I mean, sometimes I know we try to make it about associations and networks, but really, I love this Psalms 127. It's one of my mantras. Except God build the house, they labor in vain to
That's
build it. So
insane. Yes, sir.
if God's not in it, God's in the large assembly, he's in the smaller assembly, and sometimes it's those unfamiliar places that God uses. But tell me something about, because I'm so honored and glad that you mentioned your mother and your father, because I
Yeah.
have strong passion to always remember our
Yeah.
ancestors and what they've done. Tell me about that relation. How did Bishop and Mom, how did they shape you? How for what you're doing now? What is it that you can share with our listeners about that relationship in terms of your future?
They were very, I won't say strict. They loved us as children.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
church wasn't an option. It wasn't, do you want to go? Do you feel like going? Are you up to going tonight? Would you like to go to church with us tonight? No, no, no. It wasn't one of those. It was, we need you downstairs by 6:30 because we're leaving for church. You
right.
know, if our birthdays, you were in church. There was no Chuck E. Cheese at that time. Mom would bake a sheet cake, put it in the back of the station wagon, take it to church, and after church was over, the kids came in the back. Let's sing happy birthday. That was the birthday. There was no, we're not coming to church. But early on, just because my parents played, and I watched how my mother was structured and how she would discipline, and I watch how she flowed with my father. Because if he wasn't playing, he was, he pastored. So sometimes he would get on the organ or piano and play with her or whatever. But for the most part, I just watched her flow with him, as he went on, as she did pre-sermonics. And I just grew up seeing this naturally, where at the point I was younger, just thinking it was just something that they had a talent of doing, not knowing that it was actually spirit, how they flowed in the service. So even with that early on when I was playing, I remember my mother would even stop me in the middle of a service and say, that's the wrong song, the wrong song. You know,
Oh,
I mean, I came up under that type of. Now today, you do that, musicians up and leave and quit and
right,
walk away. You know,
right. You're gonna have to find a new one, right?
and only playing four keys, right? But they'd walk away. But that structure was what has girded me to be able to be on the road traveling now and being able to sit behind, a preacher and play because of the structure of watching her telling me how you have to flow and make sure you stay with the man or woman of God while they're up there preaching. So it was just those disciplines. We had a awesome choir ministry at the church. Our music ministry has always been very good. So we had a good choir. So I was able to just coin a lot of things from there. And then my uncle was disciplined with that. He was my mother's baby brother, and they actually honoring him with Welcome While We Welcome America this year.
Oh,
So it
nice.
yeah. So my parents just watching them, like I said, they both played. They were both in ministry. They had been married, I guess, almost 50 years. So just seeing the discipline and structure where it came down to rehearsals, and even in our choir rehearsals, it was a worship experience. It wasn't just, we never believed in trends. We believe in flow. So it wasn't about singing the top 5 songs because every song is not for every house.
Hmm.
So every song, so I grew up learning that sometimes you need to go back and pull. There's not a friend like the lonely Jesus. Sometimes all the big latest songs are cute and nice, but it may not necessarily fit what your service is. And what I've learned over the years is not asking the Lord to meet me there, but beat me there. So once I get there, the
Yeah,
atmosphere is already set up.
yeah,
So when
yeah,
I walk in and the choir is there, and let's say we already rehearsed that week and have 3 to 5 songs already set, but if the house has shifted, that goes away.
yes, yeah,
I don't care if Diane got her hair done because she was scheduled to lead that song this morning, got her new outfit. Well, I'm leading my song and invited her whole family. You know how that go, you
yeah,
know. But when the service goes, and if I see there's another direction, then that song is gonna get held off, and we'll do something else. So, but
right,
yes, so part of my early development was with some, I will call them soldiers, you
yes,
know,
yes,
problem with disciplining me and had no problem with sitting me down.
yeah,
I'm trying to play a Stevie Wonder lick during offering. Dun, 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 da, 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 dun, 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 dun. I remember trying to play. I was playing that in the middle of a song, but my parents did not allow R&B in the house at all. So I don't know what made me think if I couldn't play R&B in the house, I definitely could not play it in the house of God. And in the middle of offering, mother stopped the service. She, I'm sorry, brother Gary. I'm not sure what is that y'all up there because I had my band, my box haircut, my gazelle glasses, and she said, "As for what that is, you're playing,
yeah,
but it doesn't sound like something we should be doing in the service." I even see the deacons over there moving and bopping around. No, no, that's not what we do. This is the Lord's house.
right,
So I
right.
understand. I really understand. It was never to embarrass me or hurt me, but she wanted to make sure that I reverenced and understood the house of God.
And this is so key, Gary. What you're saying is so amazing because I think for young musicians that are now coming up in ministry, what you've just shared with us, what you've been teaching us so far, is that you were involved in an atmosphere of
Yeah.
flow and structure. And many times, if you don't understand the history of a thing, if you don't know where it's coming from, you'll never be able to value it and treat it the way that it should be. And because of and I'm a believer as you are that environment is everything. The
Yes.
environment that you're raised in, even though you may not know that's what's happening. I love the relationship between Paul and Timothy, and Paul
Yeah.
had to point out to Timothy, "Listen, there's something in you. You don't even know it's there, but I'm persuaded it's in you. It's an unfeigned faith." And sometimes what I believe musicians need to understand is that you've got to stay in an environment
Yes, sir.
where those things can be not physically transferred but spiritually transferred, and so that the flow, so you, because you were raised in that, it's something that you continue now. So when you teach that, what else would you say to budding musicians about this flow and this structure thing that would really give them some practical things about how to make that or improve that in their ministry? What teach us about that?
Well, I would say that it's like an outfit. Some nice shirts you have on there.
Yep.
Uh, but
Appreciate you.
my question is, you now want to throw on a pair of glasses with the same print, and you want to now throw a baseball cap on with, the same print, and you got a watch with the same print. It's going to lose something. The shirt will now lose and get lost with
Good.
much,
That's
so much
good.
happening. And I think, yes, I mean, get all you can all you get, learn all those things,
Yes.
but save something for the imagination.
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
there's an old saying, less is best. And
Yes.
sometimes it's really true. And
Yes.
I get it. And now that we're coming out of this COVID thing, where
Yeah.
musicians have been at home practicing, 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 they're ready to dump everything into that pot of soup. They're ready to now put everything into every song. But you want to make sure that we leave room for the Holy Ghost.
Right.
And,
Right.
and,
Right.
and my point is, yes, okay, great. You got the song, you got the melody, but you don't have to do everything. Like if you watch on the social medias, you see the YouTube, you see this musician, man, he sounds amazing. That one sounds great. That one sounds great. But check any record credits or any project credits, they're nowhere to be found.
Mm,
But look at the guys that are doing less. They're on every project.
Got it. Got it.
So what I'm saying to young musicians, yes, sir, know all those things, jazz, R&B, classic, yeah, put it all because it'll make you more diverse. It'll bring up a value in you, which is great. However, understand the management of those things.
Yeah.
You got your mask, I got a mask. We all got masks. Put it over your mouth. Do all that like you need. But make sure you guard your mind. Make sure you
That's good.
mask your eyes and make sure you put a mask over your heart.
That's good, Gary. Yeah.
So that way, when you get behind that sacred desk on Sunday, I'm sorry, I meant the instrument, but
Right.
that's desk, I meant the drums. I'm sorry, that sacred desk. I mean the microphone. That sacred desk, the keyboard. I'm sorry, the sacred desk, choir director, wherever you find yourself at, make sure that that mask
Yeah.
is on your mind, is on your eye gates, is on
Awesome.
your ears. So when you come in, you're so in tune. I think about even with David. Uh, when David refreshed Saul, just think the ability he had give me the ability to be able to refresh.
Right. Right. Right.
So you mean to tell me? I remember going to church as a kid, and I would watch people come out and literally stagger to their cars, and they would just be standing there. Service is over, doors are locked, everybody's leaving. You all right? I'm fine. Y'all go on. I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
Right.
Because they were so Woo! They were so into what God
Yeah.
had done for them in the
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I want to see that day again where
Absolutely.
people come in wheelchairs. I remember people coming in wheelchairs and leaving, and the wheelchairs left at the altar. Canes were left at the altar. I remember even a couple members of the church that I grew up in where they wanted to do open heart surgery. And right before they was about to do open heart surgery, the members began to pray the prayer of faith. And the doctor said, wait a minute, don't hold on. I can't cut her. She's already been prepped, been shaved, everything is ready. What's going on? I don't know. For some reason, I need to do one more.
Wow.
Let me check something out.
Wow.
Did an X-ray and said there's nothing here. There's no.
Wow. Wow.
That's one. I seen another situation
Man.
where her name is Charlene. She was already pronounced dead. They had already sitting over there tagging. At that time, they used to tag the toes. I don't know what they do anymore. But they were putting the tag on her toe because she was already dead. Put the towel over her, the sheet over her face. And as the girl walked back over, she put that thing back. Said, "I'm nowhere near dead. I'm still here."
My
So
God.
I'm saying that
My
same
God.
God, if he did it before, he can do it again. So this instrument, these hands, these gifts, these anointings that he's given us, we got to still use those same principle. But now, because the masking seems to be the big conversation of the day, vaccine, are you vaccinated? Did you get your shot? Did you get the one? Did you get two? Well, how about did you get the shot of the Holy Ghost? Did you
Absolutely.
get the shot of the oil? Did you get the shot of I want to live right? Did you get the shot of I want to walk right? I want to be right. I want to talk right. I just want to make sure that I am in the will, not the way of God, but the will of God.
Yes, Gary, I think you have listen, and this is why I wanted you to be on the show because I think what you bring, you combine this kind of musical ability and gifting with ministering, with pastoring, and you have a unique position. When we come back, we're going to go to commercial. When
Yes,
we
sir.
come back, I want to talk to you about what do musicians need to look for when they look for a mentor? Because this is one of the
Wow.
things missing in the kingdom is
Yeah.
finding good mentors,
Yes,
finding good
sir.
fathers. I think your inbox should be blown up because you to me are just a man of such wisdom, and God has brought you through all of the crazy. We know the crazy comes
Yeah.
with it,
Yeah.
but
Come.
has prepared you to be a blessing to others. Let's go to commercial. We'll
Yes,
be
sir.
right back with Gary Diggs. Follow the conversation. Welcome to Empower Talk. We'll be right back with you.
Bless you.
Greetings, everyone. Thanks for allowing me to share with you today. The book that the Lord has just allowed me to release, Your Greatness is in Your Weakness, is available today. It is amazing how God can put something priceless, a gift, in something useless us, and it still turns out useful. So listen, if you're in the United Kingdom or in Europe, go to pjedmond.uk. For the United States, Jamaica, Canada, go to pjedmond.us. Thanks for blessing us today. And listen, your greatness is in your weakness.
Welcome back, everyone. We just come from commercial. Listen, I'm still talking to Gary E. Diggs, Gary Emmanuel Diggs, and we've been talking
Listen,
about
listen.
this whole ministry issue. Listen, we before break, we started talking about this, the ministry of mentoring and how key I think it is. I mentioned before the relationship between Paul and Timothy, someone that had the best intentions for Timothy, the
Yeah.
best intentions, not trying to abuse their position, not trying to do anything negative. What are the characteristics? What are the traits, in your opinion, because you've been around the industry, you've been around the church? What should, if someone is praying, if there's a musician that's on saying, man, I wish I had someone like Gary to talk to, what are some of the things that guys should be looking for, men and women who are in music ministry, in terms of seeking someone just to be accountable to as they grow in their ministry, as they grow in their craft? What would you say about that?
First, I have to say to the mentor before I address the mentee, um, we have to be healed. You know, there's a saying that hurt people.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
those that are bleeding end up bleeding on others. I still don't understand that paradigm. That if I was hurt, if I was abused, if I was mistreated, why would I take that into the next generation of music?
right,
Um, I get it. Gary, how can you help me? You had a father, an amazing father. You had two grandfathers, two amazing grandfathers. You have two amazing older brothers. You have uncles. You know, you've always had a
right,
pool of
yes,
solid men in your household, inside the family. So when it came to working on the road with various artists and pastors and preachers, Gary was not in need of a father. I wasn't in need of a big brother mentor because I got that at home. I was just in need of work, if that makes sense. But I think what has happened, sometimes the lines cross, it gets
yeah,
blurred
yeah,
because I realize we do have some of our guys that have not had a father, or in other words, they were there for the act for that child to be born, but they have not been up to the challenge to parent.
right, good,
So, so
good,
you have a generation of guys that, yes, sir, when they come to the service and because they come unfathered and not ever having that cover, they look for that. And sometimes the preacher, they look for that sometime in their minister of music. They look for it into their band director or whoever that male figure is that seem to be that ideal of what a good man or father should be. But then when that person violates them, or when that person disappoints them by
right,
something they've heard or whatever, then all of a sudden there's no good men in the church. They're no good. I can't find them nowhere. No, it's the fact that you were looking for what you needed, but in the wrong place.
yes,
So
yes,
what I find that this word, this Bible is so awesome because it is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our pathway. And I say this as I encourage any young musician, man, woman, boy, girl, that as you are growing in this, understand, don't flirt with something that doesn't seem where you need to be. Because let
yeah,
me tell you one thing about sin. Sin will take you farther than you want it to go. It will
yes,
take you longer than you want it to stay, and it will cost you more than you were willing to spend. That's what sin would do. So
absolutely,
as I was growing up, my parents would always say, if you're not interested in that person, then don't look. If you're not interested in a certain thing, don't flirt with it. So I encourage any of the younger musicians that are coming up, getting started, and I get it. You want mentoring, you want to, sit under someone so you can learn and coin your style. But you need to first of all make sure that you are connecting and able to understand your identity of who
yes,
you are and
yes,
whose you are. So you can have a better understanding of who you're seeking after or who you're trying to, connect yourself with. Iron sharpens iron.
yes,
So,
absolutely,
so my thing is because I'm into growth of music ministry. I'm into growth of now Arthur, and I'm trying to do books and trying to understand this and things that I'm working on, stage plays, various things that's coming through. I have to now spend time with those that have done what I've done, those that are doing what I'm doing. So I can't spend my day hanging with a bunch of guys shooting basketball. And I'm saying that as a generic thing all the way around. You've got if you're trying to head somewhere, you've got to find yourself connecting with that type of
yes, yes,
lane to
Yeah.
get you got to go.
From the moment I've met you, Gary, I felt a synergy because our journeys are similar.
Yes,
Both
sir.
raised, both musicians. I served my father as a minister of music for many years. Parents in the ministry, born in the church
Yeah,
virtually, and found out that I was hiding behind music. And I think there are a lot of people that are going to say the same about you once they hear this program, that you're hiding behind music, because there's so much more. Your wisdom and your candidness and your candor and your transparency, I think, is going to be a blessing to a lot of people watching the show. I've been there, and then I definitely had to answer the call, and now in ministry full time. So I'm trying to pull you in, but that's a whole different conversation there, Gary. So and I did the same thing. I
yeah,
ran, and I ran until I ran out of steam. I ran
yeah,
until I ran
yeah,
out of steam. But what you've done in terms of transition, and you've begun the journey. Very rarely have I seen those in music ministry have done what you've done, have touched. I mean, you've worked with. I mentioned a few: Lonnie Hunter, Ernest Pugh, Micah Stampley, so many others.
yeah.
You're the music minister at a 20,000 member church in New Jersey. I mean, you've done so much, but very rarely have I seen someone then move from that experience into becoming an author. So I want to talk all about this book of yours, which I think is such a blessing. The Broken Key,
Yes, sir.
Restoration of My Life, played on a
Shameless plug, right? Okay, okay.
this is so I'm this so we're going to spend the rest of our time talking about this. First of all, I want to celebrate you as an author. I believe that there's a book in all of us, but
Thank
I
you.
celebrate what I tend to do is when I attend a graduation, I'm not just celebrating their achievement, I'm celebrating what they went through to achieve it, because we don't see, when we celebrate, we don't see the struggle. So
Right.
the graduation day does not describe all the days that they felt like quitting, giving up, throwing in the towel. So I want to celebrate you, man of God, for
Wow.
hanging in there with the process and finishing the work, so that we'll have something to talk about. But let's jump into this. Give us the backstory and the history on the Broken Key. I want musicians and leaders and producers and anyone that's involved in the music ministry throughout the kingdom to understand that this theme and this book applies to so many individuals, actually in and outside of music. But you're speaking to a wide audience. But just jump into this in terms of, tell us, where did this come from? It always comes from an experience, but tell us what was the bedrock to begin to write the Broken Key.
Again, thank you, Bishop, for even having me on. I'm humbled and honored by this invitation. I was on the road, and as you mentioned, I travel with my pastor, and for over 20 years now, and we happen to be on a road trip, and I'm not sure what city, because we do a lot of cities. The city I was in, I recall waiting for Bishop to go on, so I'm sitting on the side, and I'm watching this guy play. He sounds amazing. He's playing, and I'm like, wow, this guy's really killing the keys. So when I got up to play, three keys were missing: middle C, middle E flat, middle E. Three keys missing. And I look over at him like, dude, what? I'm thinking he just broke the keys. So he said, I'm sorry, I talked to you about it after church. So of course it affected every, my plan, because no matter where I went, I want that C, E, and E flat. I need those keys. So it didn't dawn on me until after service. I talked with him, and he said the they won't give me the budget to get the keyboard fixed. And you and I both know keys only cost about $25, I guess. I don't know what called to repair them, but it doesn't cost a lot of money, is what I'm saying. Um, so it didn't hit me until the roads and everything got closed down, and I was home. And I said, I know what happened. The reason why this guy sounded so amazing on those keys is because he had got comfortable with his
Wow,
own brokenness.
wow, Gary,
And when
talk.
I the
Yeah,
play, because I could not, because look, listen, I don't care, how many figures are sitting in your bank account. I can't be you no matter what happens. I don't care how many figures are sitting in my bank account. You cannot do Gary. You cannot be me. And because we have to just run this race that's been set before us. So it hit me. The reason why this guy sounded so good is because he got comfortable with his own brokenness. And that's where the book was birthed from. At first I thought it was a song, But as I began to write and write and write, I said, "No, it's
Wow.
too long for a song."
Wow.
You know, so I realized it must be a book, and that's where it came from. And I just grabbed 15 points of turning points in my life to talk about in the book. That's how the book came about, from an experience on the road where I seen a guy play a piano that had three missing keys, and I felt like all he needed to do was call a piano tuner. And that's the spiritual point that I'm trying to make with
Yes.
anyone that's dealing with brokenness. All you got to, I mean, it's that easy. Call upon the name of the Lord. That's it. Just, it's an easy thing. So that's what I did. If he had just called a piano tuner, those three keys would have been fixed. When we're broken and got issues, you got to call on the name.
Yes. Yes. So powerful, Gary. And one of the things, just from my brief overview of your writing, and it's a great read. It's a great concept. I think it speaks. The thing I love about your work is that it speaks to all levels, all kinds of individuals, not those that are just musically led.
Yeah,
But what I really appreciate about the positioning of the book is that you've decided to write this from a point of restoration, not from a point of brokenness,
yeah.
but a point of restoration. What led you to that being the focus of the writing?
I think for me, it's easy for me. Woe is Gary. Oh, my dad died. Oh, my mother died. Oh, I lost a job. Oh, this happened and this happened. And sure, we could do that all day long. I mean, and I'm not, you know, counting out your faults and things that happen.
Sure, sure.
But please tell me a way how to get out of here.
Right,
I always say this when someone tell me, Gary, you got a little pink on your lip. You're bald headed. It seems to be shiny over here. Or you're short. You're shorter than both of your brothers. My thing is, tell me something I don't know.
right, right,
I know
right.
that already.
Yes,
I
yes,
already know that I lost the job. I already know that I wasn't going to get the promotion. I already know those things. So the book was written from a place of, okay, you see what happened, but do you see the victory?
yes.
Because I stood the test and I understand at the
So
end
good.
you win. It's kind of like watching your favorite movie. As you get older, you begin to understand the star of that movie is not going to die before that movie is over.
Right, right.
Now, some movies they do die at the end. They do die. But that star, you can go get you some popcorn, you can go to the bathroom and come back. 9 out of 10, you're gonna see him before this thing come to an end. So when it came to the book, I did not just want to write about the downtrodden things happen, but I
Yes.
wanted you to see victory in any situation.
And I think that you capture that. You're real. You're transparent. I think what's gonna win this generation, what won our generation, is just the truth and the reality of life. If you can show me, Jesus did this so spectacularly. Jesus was able to show life in plain simple life, and within life reveals such great hidden truths. And so when you can talk about where people live and how they experience, and then help them to see a better day and a greater moment and a greater
Mm.
opportunity, I think you really begin to reach a person's capacity where they are. You say in the book that you can't avoid surprises, you can't avoid life. Life is going to come at you,
Yep.
whatever way you try to avoid. If you, I think about David in the Psalms. Listen, if I take the wings of the morning, if I fly to the uttermost part of the sea, guess what? I'm going to run into God. You can't escape God, and you can't escape life. But you also say, talk something about this. You also say that we have to let look at the opportunities, not the obstacles.
Yeah, yeah.
Opportunities, not the obstacles. Teach us about that, Gary. What do you mean by that?
Well, here's the thing: is the obstacles are there. It's kind of like your GPS system in the car. You put in a destination. You already know where you want to go. The GPS is telling you for a shorter direction because there's a whatever, go this way. But
Yes,
because you know best, you seem to know, so you still want to go the way you think to go. Then when you get up there, you find out there's now a major delay, there's a detour, and you're going to end up having to come back and go the way you were supposed to go. And that is the way my life was operating. I knew the wages of sin is death. I knew right from wrong. I knew church. But I myself said, look, I can drive. I have license because he give you free will.
right, right.
So, I'm cruising in life, you know, I'm cruising in life. And here's the thing, and it's all in the book. Here, I begin to learn how to sin professionally. And I had common sense not to do too much stuff on Friday because I knew I had somewhere to play Saturday night, Sunday morning. But then I'll mess up Monday and Tuesday, and then I'll clean myself up because I got Bible study Wednesday, and then
Right.
after that I'll have such conviction from what I did Monday and Tuesday until Thursday I live right, but Friday night I'm back in the fold again, and then Saturday I'm like get my life, So I went through all that, but with that navigation system, which was Christ Himself, He was like, if you would just allow me to navigate
That's
this,
good. That's
and you
good.
just drive this way, you go this way, stop, yield, turn, slow down, speed up. If you would just follow those perimeters, I promise you, you're going to get to where you got to go. It's okay. Let them go ahead of you. Let them make the millions. Let them go ahead and run first. That's okay because the turtle wins. If you read the story, the turtle wins at the end.
The
So
turtle
the
wins.
race is not given to the swift or the strong, but it's given to that one that endures. So for me, those obstacles have, yes, sir, they have been there. They've been teaching. And what I have learned also, if you don't pass those tests, the possibility you're going to repeat them again. So you want to make sure that even in all this stuff that's going on, open your eyes and understand, am I now operating out of kingdom or am I operating out of flesh?
Absolutely. A lot of people, and this is good news, Gary. All day long, this is good news. One of the things that I get in terms of questions is how did you do it? How did you write the book? And this is what I think is going to be more meaningful to people. Not that you did it, but what you went through to it as an author. Perhaps share with those who might have this passion. They're hearing God talk to them about writing. From your vantage point and from the things that you've learned, what would you advise someone who has a passion, might be in music ministry, might not, but have a story to tell? They've had an experience like you did, and they hear God speaking through it. How did you get started? What did you have to do to complete it? Share some of the strategies and tips, Gary, that you were able to implement to allow you to finish this project.
Well, it started, like I said, I thought it was a song. And as I began to just write on the computer, and I was inspired, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention this young lady name. Her name was Yolanda Gambrell. And I recall just putting something out on Facebook. And in her comments, she says, let me find out you writing a book, G. Just a comment. And I said, well, maybe that's what this really is a book.
Right.
But I'm just going to be honest, Pastor. I don't like to read. You
I know
know,
somebody like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I want a picture book. I want a picture. And as
Yeah.
an author and as an
Read
author,
it to me. Play it to me.
yeah,
Show me the
you
pictures.
know, and
I'll
actually,
wait for the
like,
movie, right? I'll wait for the
right,
movie.
I wait for the movie, and so for me to say that is probably not good for marketing, but I wrote this book based on non-readers,
Got it.
very thin. You see,
Yep.
I wrote it based off of non-readers, um,
Yes.
but I wanted to keep my message simple and short. And I remember this old funny joke. This preacher said he was up preaching, and the woman kept blowing a kiss at him doing while he was up preaching. She was in the audience, so he's like trying to figure out, wait a minute, this woman now she keep blowing kisses. So in service, he went over to her and said, "Listen, now, I just want you to know, I appreciate the compliment, but I wish you would not blow any more kisses at me, while I preach." She said, "Man, I wasn't trying to flirt with you. I was simply telling you keep it short, stupid." So. So my so my point has been with the book. I wanted to get a simple message out, but I wanted to keep it short.
Yes.
And
Yes.
how this came about, it just formulated, and then just in talking to people that have already written books, sharing with them some ideals and saying, hey, I don't know whether this is a book. And then from there, and the advantage that's here today is Google. We didn't have that
Yes. Yes.
years ago. So you're able to go on there, and of course I sought counsel from my bishop because he's an author of Healed Without Scars. He wrote great books. I'd have been
Yes.
I'd have been foolish not to talk to a great successful writer.
Absolutely. That's
Oh,
good advice. That's good advice. Yeah.
duh, that's common sense. You talk with someone that's done this. So I tell, okay, so you say, okay, Gary, but you have access to talk to someone like that. You may not have him to talk to, however, but you do have Google. You do have Google where you can sit there and say, okay, I just wrote a book. What do I do? Who do I talk to? And then from there, you seek out various companies that would be willing to publish if you want to do self-publishing, or you find a publisher to do that. However, I always say this: this is when you do have to read, whether you want to or not. Understand the fine print, because at the end of the day, you know, you got to handle business.
That's wonderful, and we're going to get to where people can get the book. I absolutely want you to talk about that in just a few minutes. But the chapter titles intrigue me. I mean, of course, the title is just the key restoration, and you got to talk a little bit about chapter 3, I believe, which is hustled. Talk
Uh,
about hustled. What are you teaching there, Gary?
Let me tell you, I was in high school, and I'm sorry, junior high school, and by the time I got to, I don't know, sixth, seventh grade, my name was getting around the city. Who's this little kid? His feet barely touching the pedals because I was so much shorter. Who's this kid playing the organ and the piano? So I never forget. It was a teacher that came to my mother and said, "I want to take him to California." And my mother says, "Well, we need to pray and talk about that. I'm not really sure." So, and then later on, I met this producer. He's a music producer from the area. I would leave him unnamed. From the area, he said, "Oh my God, I gotta have this kid to play organ on this recording session." So my parents said, "Well, okay." So they negotiated, talked, worked out the deal. So we were younger, and at that time there was no ATM, there was no Cash App, there was no, Zelle. So you just handshake was what you did. So my parents let me stay out of school. Again, I was in middle school. They let me stay home. They sent me a cassette, album to listen to the practice stuff. I got to this nighttime session around 10 o'clock at night. I'll never forget it. They took me to the recording studio. It was 2 songs I recorded for him. Sometime around 2:30, 3 o'clock that morning, we were done. And he said, first thing in the morning when the banks open, I'm going to come to the house and pay you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for everything. And we're like, I'm just honored to be there. I'm a kid. My parents said, okay, no problem. We'll see you first thing in the morning. Because he had been so consistent with everything else. Well, 9, 10, 11,
Here we go.
12,
Here we
maybe
go.
1, 2, 3,
Get,
4.
getting it. I'm getting it.
you know, and of course, my parents called a few times, leaving messages, no answer. And then it went on for days, and I was somewhat heartbroken. I said, "Mom, why would he do that?" You know, and my parents says, "Well, this happens," and it was a time where we got hustled. Now I don't know whatever happened at the project. Where is he at? I don't even know if he's dead or alive now. But I'm saying during that time, it was one of the first times that I ever been hustled, and it really was a painful thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
but let me fast forward. Even till today, do you know that hustle mentality is still in the? I mean, forget the industry. It's in the body of Christ.
yeah. Absolutely.
It is in
Absolutely.
the. Do you know it's still here today? You tell me, G, I need you to come here. I got a wedding going on. I need you to come play. I said, okay, Doc. How you want to work it out? Well, I need you to give me a good rate. Give me a good price. I tell you, all right, give me. We talk those numbers through. Now you tell me you ain't hardly got no money for no. You can't hardly do this. Can't hardly do that. I pull up at the wedding. I see Bentleys, Maybach, horse buggies. Y'all going on a honeymoon for 6 weeks. You already planned your vacation home. And my thing is that hustle is still
Yes,
in the church,
yes,
and I
yes,
don't understand. So yeah, that was my first time really getting hustled. But unfortunately, that mindset is still in the business.
yeah, yeah. And this is why we mentioned earlier the need for mentors or the need for knowledge that we grow into. And you mentioned Edwin Hawkins. One of my well, first of all, in 1975, when Andre Crouch toured England in the city of Bristol, which is where I'm from, shout out to Bristol.
Yeah,
Uh, Andre Crouch changed my life.
yeah,
Just seeing that, but it wasn't until I went to Carnegie Hall, traveling with some friends of mine, and I got to see what happened behind stage.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
Andre Crouch changed my life. That experience broke my heart because you realize that unless you keep God in it, it's the same operation. It's the same
yeah,
machinery.
yeah,
It's the same greed. It's the same hustle.
yeah, yeah,
You got to make sure you surround yourself with people that keep Jesus at
Yes.
the center of this thing, because it can be lost so easily. Listen, Gary, I could talk to you, know that I could talk to you all day, but I don't, my the late great Chief Apostle Monroe Saunders said this one time. He went to a place and said, "Well, how long can I preach?" And the preacher said, "Well, you can preach as long as you want, but we leave at 2 o'clock."
But we
So, so we can talk all day, but I'm not sure if these folks going to hang with us, right?
right, right.
But please tell us where we can get the broken key. Give a moment, just a shout out. Tell us where people, because I believe that what you've shared, and after this, I'm going to ask you just, the purpose of Empower Talk Show is to really bring empowerment, and I believe
Yeah.
the presence of God has been with us in this
Amen.
conversation. I believe people are going to be touched and ministered to, challenged and changed,
Yeah.
all of those things. So please do two things for me. Tell us where we can get the book, and then afterwards, will you just give a final empowerment talk word, empower talk word to someone from the perspective of the book, or just something, anything the Lord lays on your heart. I want people to leave. I want people to walk away saying, "Listen, man, I listened to the show, and this guy Gary Diggs, I was empowered by. I was empowered by." That's the whole purpose and vision of this show. So please tell us where we can get the book, and then we're going to close with a power talk point from you,
Yes, sir.
and then we're gonna go backstage and finish this
Yes,
conversation.
sir. We have to do that.
Right? Bless you. But can I thank you first of all for
Thank
taking the
you.
time? I knew you had a crazy day. You allotted this. It's been my honor, honestly,
I
just
feel
to
the
be able
same.
to engage with you and share with you. I'm totally associated with the way that you think and the way you believe, and I just thank God for the great and the greater things that God's going to do through this book. This is not the first. This is not the last, rather. It's the first, but it's not the last. Because Gary, wherever you're beginning, God has put much in your spirit to share. And if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it is a duck. If it
Duck.
talks like a preacher, if it looks like a preacher, it okay. I'm going.
I think we run out of time now.
Where can we find the book, Gary, and then close us with a power talk?
The book is available. The Broken Key by Gary Diggs is on Amazon, hard copies, and the price is $12.88. The 12 represents the keys, the 12 gates to the city. The 8 represents new beginning. I put a second 8 there because the price of the book is $12.88. My prayer is everyone that purchased the book will receive new beginning, will receive a double portion of new beginning, and will
Yes,
also receive their 12 keys and their 12 gates to the city.
absolutely. Will you just close us now with whatever you want to do, guy? If you feel led to pray, you just want to share a thought, just something to kind of just overview and confirm and conclude what we've been talking about today. It's been awesome. There's so many. I don't know what you're going to point to. There's been so many things that you talked about, but I've been blessed and impressed and inspired by what we've shared today. And just please, just close us with Empower Talk.
I would just say that I get it. I get it. You get broken, you get hurt, you get mishandled, you get misunderstood, you get mistreated. That has happened. But as my pastor often say, I can't unscramble scrambled eggs. Can't do nothing about what has happened. All
Mm,
we can do is move forward from where we are now. And this book deals with things that was operating wounded. You
mm,
that externally things were looking great, but on the inside, there was a young boy in there crying and screaming for help, because he was broken, mistreated, mishandled, or whatever. However, I had to learn that at the end of the day, I'm going to have to call upon God Himself to help me, to heal me, the forgiveness. You got to get all that stuff out of you,
mm.
because it just does nothing for you but cause, you to just be, harbor and be a bitter person. So with that, I'm saying to you that I encourage you to seek His face and know that this is not the end. I get it. It sounds such a cliche. You've heard it all the time, but I promise you, if you would stay in the face of God, your latter would be better than the past.
So powerful. Gary Emmanuel Diggs, author of The Broken Key, Restoration of My Life, played on the broken key. It's been my honor to have
Thank
shared with you today. Thank you, Gary. Blessings to you and your family.
Blessed to you. Love you with the love of the Lord.
Love you too, man. Talk to you soon.
Come on, join us. It is the Empower Talk. Our show. Empower Talk.
Listen, thank you for joining us on Empower Talk. That was an amazing, amazing session with Gary Diggs. Such a great guy. I'm hoping that you were empowered, that you learned so much about business, about life, about ministry, because Empower Talk is where you understand it's going to be relevant, it's going to be radical, it's going to be resourceful. Listen, if you want to be a guest on the show, send an email to iKenRockENT.com, and we'll be so blessed to be able to honor and look at all the requests that may be coming. We are looking to empower people and to make this show relevant. We'll see you next time on Empower Talk with PJ Edmond.